used me as a weapon and then cast me aside, abandoned me.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. So the Skywalker saga is riddled with tragedy, primarily surrounding the fall of Anakin Skywalker and the rise of Darth Vader. But what if I told you that there is an even more tragic character that has been hiding in plain sight? A character who, like Vader, was taken at a young age from his mother, corrupted by the Sith, and suffered great injuries by Obi-Wan Kenobi. A character burdened with feelings of betrayal and cursed by a lust for revenge. That's right, I am talking about Star Wars' most misunderstood Zabrak, Darth Maul.
You will suffer as I have suffered.
No way, person. Darth Vader is by far the most tragic character in Star Wars.
Well, buddy, Darth Vader and Darth Maul have a lot in common, especially when you analyze their most tragic moments. Maul was born on the planet Dathomir sometime around 54 BBY. That's before the Battle of Yavin that takes place in Star Wars A New Hope. Now, Dathomir is a planet rich in the dark side of the Force. It's also home to a planet of dark side magic-wielding witches called the Night Sisters. Maul is the son of Mother Talzin, the leader of the Night Sisters.
Let us fix what has been broken. Follow us, son of Dathomir.
Now, when Maul was very young, Mother Talzin could see a strong connection to the Force in him, a connection that was also detected by a Sith Lord called Darth Sidious.
The Emperor.
Yes, but at the time he was merely a humble senator from Naboo. Oh, and also an apprentice to a Dark Lord of the Sith called Darth Plagueis.
You ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
So Sidious had plans to betray his master and become the #1 top Sith, and he knew that he would need a powerful apprentice at his side when he embarked on his plan to become Emperor of the Galaxy. Darth Sidious traveled to Dathomir, likely in search of the young Maul after sensing his presence through the Force. But it's also possible that Sidious was simply drawn to the planet of Dathomir and its connection to the dark side. Now, once on Dathomir, Sidious met Mother Talzin and they agreed to exchange knowledge. Sidious's knowledge of the Sith and Mother Talzin's knowledge of dark side magic. Magic which we've seen Darth Sidious use in the Clone Wars and in Rebels when he tried to enter the world between worlds.
Is a Bridger and Ahsoka mine at last.
But dark side magic wasn't all Sidious left Dathomir with. He also brought with him the young Maul. So, like a traditional Jedi, Maul was taken at a young age and forced into a life that he did not choose for himself.
As Jedi were taken from our families when we were very young. Yes, I think I had a brother. I really don't remember him.
But unlike a traditional Jedi, Maul was not taken as a baby. Similar to Anakin Skywalker, he was old enough to remember his life from before. And like Anakin, Maul had a mother that he could miss.
Arise, Maul, reborn son of Dathomir.
But unlike the peace and balance one is taught as a young Jedi, Maul was injected with the hate, anger, and suffering necessary to build a strong Sith warrior, as well as a passion for revenge.
Revenge. I must have revenge.
A passion for revenge that would plague him for the rest of his life. A revenge that would lead to his ultimate demise. During Maul's training, Sidious took him to the planet of Malachor, home to this Sith temple that we saw in Star Wars Rebels.
Yes, that temple holds secrets of the Sith, secrets that have been buried with the dead for thousands of years.
Now, there was a huge battle between the Sith and the Jedi that took place here many hundreds of years ago. On this old battleground, Sidious made Maul breathe in the ashes of the fallen Sith. This led to an elusive experience where Maul could feel the Sith's defeat at the hands of the Jedi. It is here that Maul hears the phrase, far above, far below. We don't know where we'll fall. For above, far below. What was once great is rendered small. Sidious tells Maul that this mantra is what taught him to focus his hate and anger. This mantra helped him to endure treachery and untold pain like all the Sith before him. It was this teaching that would become crucial to Maul's survival following his fatal defeat in The Phantom Menace.
You cannot imagine the depths I would go to stay alive, fueled by my singular hatred for you.
Now, in The Phantom Menace, it is revealed that Darth Maul was the first Sith in a millennia to reveal himself to the galaxy. Maul was very prideful of this fact and fed on the fear that he struck into not only his enemies, but even into his allies.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
During Maul's battle with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon on Naboo, his hate and aggression served him well, and he defeated a Jedi Master. But it was that same hate and aggression that blinded Maul to his own vulnerabilities, and his cockiness led to a grueling defeat.
When I cut you in half, I should have aimed for your neck instead.
Not only did Obi-Wan cut Maul down physically, he took away what Maul viewed as his own glorious purpose.
I was destined to become so much more, but I was robbed of that destiny by the Jedi. by Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Now, Maul was able to survive his halving, and later he wound up on a trash planet called Lotho Minor.
But how did he survive being cut in half?
Well, lightsabers cauterize wounds, but also he survived because of his hate. His hate for Obi-Wan and his lust for revenge kept him alive, as well as the mantra that he was taught by Sidious.
Far above what once was great is rendered small.
But that same hate and lust for revenge also drove Maul mad.
Scum! He took them from me!
That's when Maul was found by his brother, Savage Opress.
Savage who?
Long story short, but he's a big yellow Darth Maul enchanted with Night Sister magic. He felt betrayed by the Sith during his time under Count Dooku, and eventually he went off to find his long-lost brother that he had believed to be dead.
Oh, okay, got it.
So, when Savage finds Maul, he's in rough shape. He's now attached to a mechanical set of spider legs, he has grown out horns, and he's very malnourished. But what's most broken is his mind.
It's what goes on in here that's hard.
Maul is clearly suffering from severe PTSD, following his injuries and his time in isolation, surviving on rodents and garbage.
I'm ready for my leftovers!
Now, while Maul's hatred kept his body alive, his mind, not so much. Maul had fallen victim to the sheer weight of his emotional state, and he went insane. But once Savage brought Maul back to their home planet of Dathomir and reunited him with Mother Talzin, the Night Sister was able to repair Maul's mind and restore his sanity, to an extent. Despite now being able to think more clearly, his newfound focus was still centered on revenge. Maul is understandably frustrated about everything that happened on Naboo all those years ago. But little does Maul know that this destiny he feels he was robbed of was never actually meant to manifest. He was nothing but a pawn for Sidious and his grand plan. Prior to Maul's defeat in The Phantom Menace, Sidious was already grooming Dooku to become his new apprentice.
You lost an apprentice, and so did I, all in service of our greater goals.
This is yet another example of how tragic Maul's story really is. He gave everything he had to Sidious from a very young age, only to be cast aside once he had served his purpose. Now, if you're a fan of the prequels, and especially the Clone Wars, you know that Obi-Wan is a bit of a troll.
Anakin, what? Control your insolence. The Count is concentrating.
But when Maul and Kenobi met again for the first time after their duel in Naboo, Obi-Wan's trolling gets downright cruel.
I'm not sure I've made your acquaintance. Unlike your new legs, they make you look taller.
For more than a decade, not a day has passed that Maul has not thought of his Jedi nemesis. And for Obi-Wan to act as if he didn't remember Maul may have seemed funny at first, but I can only imagine how much that quip had to hurt.
I am surprised you could have forgotten me so easily after I killed your master.
Maul became determined to not only exact revenge on Obi-Wan, but the galaxy as a whole. He was determined to achieve the power and role that he felt he had been robbed of all those years ago. Part of his quest included becoming the temporary ruler of the planet Mandalore. And it is there that Maul finally achieved so many of his goals. He finally had a throne, he had finally had loyal followers who bowed to him, and he finally had revenge against Obi-Wan Kenobi when he killed the woman that Obi-Wan loved, Satine Kryze, the former leader of Mandalore.
I will make you share my pain.
Now, you'd think that after drawing first blood by killing Obi-Wan's master and now killing the love of his life, the Maul would finally feel that he and Obi-Wan were even, but no. In typical dark side fashion, he wanted more. His lust to kill Obi-Wan would remain, but more on that in just a bit. Now, Maul's return proved to be more than just a thorn in the side of the Jedi, but also a thorn in the side of his former master, Darth Sidious.
You have become a rival!
So during Maul's battle with Sidious, his brother is killed by the Dark Lord. Savage was Maul's only friend, the only person he could trust, and the only person that he actually loved. Sidious had once again taken everything from Maul.
I have other uses for you.
And it's that line right there. Other uses for you. This is another reminder that Maul was always nothing but a tool in Sidious's belt, which is true for all his apprentices. But it's worth mentioning that while Palpatine also used Vader, he seemingly had respect for him and referred to him as his friend.
Rise, my friend. Patience, my friend. Your work here is finished, my friend.
Now, following Maul's encounter with Sidious, he was held captive and used to lure part of the spirit of his Night Sister mother, Mother Talzin. Sidious was threatened by Talzin and he wanted her dead. He'd already sent General Grievous to slaughter the Night Sisters, but he still feared the lingering presence of Mother Talzin. Now, long story short, Talzin comes to save Maul and she gets into this big battle with Sidious where she is destroyed, but not before providing enough coverage for Maul to escape. Maul returns to Mandalore and orchestrates the siege of Mandalore in hopes of luring away Anakin Skywalker.
Why would he do that?
Because Skywalker was Sidious's prized pupil, and Maul wanted to kill him and deprive Darth Sidious of a new apprentice.
He has long been groomed for his role as my master's new apprentice.
But instead, Ahsoka arrived on Mandalore, and it's here that we see Maul extend his hand to Ahsoka for an alliance.
They cannot defeat Sidious, but together, you and I can.
Maul's accusations of what Anakin Skywalker will become immediately turns Ahsoka off to the whole deal, and after one of the greatest duels in Star Wars history, Maul is captured.
You're all going to burn! We're all going to die!
Now, Maul's desperate cries and him screaming that they're all doomed sends a shiver down my spine every time I watch it. You can hear the fear in Maul's voice. He knows that he, the Jedi, and anyone who stands in his old master's way are now destined for gruesome defeat. And these screams make what comes next all the more terrifying: the execution of Order 66.
Execute Order 66.
Even with Maul's deep hate for Sidious, he acknowledges the brilliance of Sidious's master plan. Getting to see the final days and even hours of the Republic through the perspective of Maul really showcases how his trust issues and prideful nature stopped him from defeating Sidious. Now, had Maul been able to set aside his hate and lust for revenge and a throne, he would have been a great asset to the Jedi and the Republic, and he could have stopped Sidious in his tracks. But Sidious was able to stop that from ever becoming a possibility by breaking Maul's mind all those years ago during his training. Sidious infused Maul with so much hate and anger, and he knew that Maul would never be able to work with anyone, and thus would never be able to defeat him. As usual, Darth Sidious was 10 steps ahead. Now, following the creation of the Empire, Maul went into hiding, and he focused on his creation of an underground crime syndicate, yet another instance of his desire for a throne rather than working with the rebels to bring down Sidious. Years later, Maul did return to the planet of Malachor, the planet Sidious took him to many times during his training. It is here that Maul intended to use the Sith Temple as the ultimate weapon to destroy all of his enemies and place himself as the top ruler of the galaxy.
Ahsoka! Maul tricked us! This temple's a weapon!
There, Maul meets Ezra Bridger and is reunited with Ahsoka Tano. Now, at first it appears like Maul has finally learned to work with others, but no, he quickly betrays Ahsoka and Kanan. Maul has a recurring role in the Rebels series, and each time we see him, he appears desperate to take on Ezra as his apprentice.
Where's Ezra? You mean my apprentice?
So this, to me, shows how lonely Maul is. Sure, he wants a powerful apprentice to help him overthrow Sidious, but every time we see Maul, he's alone. He has no comrades, no henchmen, it's just him. He's lost everything and everyone he ever cared for, all at the hands of his old master. And he is so broken from his old Sith training that he is incapable of trust or working with others, and most of all, he can't let go.
Let go of what?
Kenobi.
Geez, he's still on that? Hasn't it been like 30 years at this point?
Yup, but Maul's entire personality from a young age was crafted by Sidious to obsess over revenge. Revenge is one of the key emotions to channeling his dark side powers, and he has never let that feeling go. That is, until his final moments. Now, when Maul does finally find Obi-Wan, we get one of the best scenes in all of Star Wars, a moment that had been years in the making. Unlike their long, elaborate duel from the first encounter, this one was brief and concise. This scene clearly shows how anger, hatred, and lust for revenge are no match to the strength that focus and balance can bring you. When Maul collapsed in Obi-Wan's arms, the hate that he'd been carrying for decades finally dissipates. And Maul seems to finally realize that he had been blinded by his hate for Obi-Wan. And had he been able to set that hate aside and just truly focus, he could have served as a great ally to the rebellion in their efforts to defeat the Emperor. And it's this line here when Maul talks about Luke that makes it clear that he no longer views Obi-Wan as his enemy, but as a fellow victim of his old master.
He will avenge us.
Maul's referral to himself and Obi-Wan as us is more than just an object pronoun, but a declaration of clarity that the two men were no longer adversaries, and their decades-old wound had finally been mended. In Maul's final moment, he was finally able to feel a sense of peace and hope that he had not felt since before he was taken from Dathomir all those years ago. So, to recap, like Anakin Skywalker, Maul was taken from his mother and his home at a young age to learn the ways of the Force. He then spent years being manipulated by the Sith Lord Darth Sidious. They both suffered severe injuries from Obi-Wan Kenobi that would have killed most people, and once serving their purpose, they were both cast aside.
Wait, when was Vader cast aside?
Well, remember, in Return of the Jedi, the Emperor outright said that he wanted Luke to kill Vader so he could become his new apprentice.
Take your father's place at my side.
And finally, both Maul and Anakin died in the arms of a Jedi, and in their final moments, they were able to see the error of their ways. So let me know, who do you think had the most tragic life, Darth Maul or Darth Vader? Or maybe someone else, like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Rick the Door Technician?
Get ready to die!
I want to give a special shout out to our writer for this video, Mr. Colton Ogburn. His social and mine are below. Guys, leave us a comment, and if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.